everyone, my name is Gabby. So just wanted to make this little video. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining how to choose the right deck, especially for beginners that want to get started in learning how to read tarot cards. So cover a little bit more in other videos, but this one's going to be more so for how do I choose the right deck. So there's a couple different ways that you can start off when you're choosing out the different tarot card decks that can sometimes feel overwhelming in terms of like angel cards, oracle cards, the traditional tarot decks, between all the different types of artwork that they're going to have as well too. So the way that I got started was I actually found it at the last one of the jobs that I had. They had a beginner's easy way to learn tarot card reading, in which I got these awesome cards where they're very similar to the traditional tarot rider deck that many of us are familiar with, or if you're not, it's the first one that ever came out that allowed us to tap into all of the different suites, the different arcana cards, the minor arcana. Sometimes, oddly enough, this one can be a bit heavy to learn just because there's so much information. There's 78 cards in here that, again, are broken up by the minor arcana and the major arcana, which I'll go into detail a little bit later in another video. A great way to get started with this that I feel like many people have the biggest hiccup is in feeling that kind of weird self-conscious feeling where they don't know if they're doing it right, where we're second-guessing ourselves, or we're constantly relying on the descriptions of the book. A great way to kind of get started in eliminating that type of feeling would be with going with an oracle card deck. The best way to choose your tarot card deck, you don't have to wait for somebody to gift it to you. Choose the one you love. So whether you're going into your favorite bookstore, crystal bookstore, even if you're looking online, there's going to be one that just stands out to you. And there might be multiple ones that stand out to you. But one of the first ones I got in terms of my oracle cards was this deck over here. So this is the vintage oracle deck. But the oracle decks are going to have different messages from this one, celebration, straight to the point. Centering, right with it. Gentleness. So the oracle cards are typically a bit easier to understand because they're going to have a direct message. There's not going to be multiple interpretations with it. Usually they're not going to have something like when this is upside down it means something else, where the tarot card decks are going to have multiple interpretations with it. So even just to give you an example, even with the moon card here, this can have several meanings, and it can have several different meanings depending on which card it falls next to as well too. Even like this one here, so the King of Pentacles, it can represent a man, it can represent a state of mind, it can represent a certain message, where if that's feeling like it's too overwhelming, it might be better to start with some of the oracle cards. The other one that I've also resonated with is my Moonology deck. It straight up tells you the message. You and your loved ones are safe. There's a new moon in Cancer. The images are all relating that will kind of start to get your brain ready in this process of understanding what each and every card means and in how they are in relation to each other depending on what was asked. Now, in my own personal journey, I did start with the traditional deck. That's the way that I kind of studied and learned with it. It took a long time with it, but again, with this stuff, the more you practice it, the better it's going to be. So allowing yourself to actually have time to study this material, you're going to find your own niche of doing it, but the key is to do it. Don't let people get in your head that you have to do it in this certain manner. You may even find, because I know of some of them, that they read tarot cards and they don't study the cards. They just pick up a deck, they're free to use it, they pick up on something else, and they just go with it. How accurate or not, I'm not sure. I'm not judging them. But one thing, again, because I've always loved the tarot cards, they've always been something that's spoken to me in terms of passion from the imagery and the messages. I also appreciate the time that the artist put into making these decks. There's also different types of messages from the ancient to the now that have a funny way of seeping through that I really appreciate and respect. So I do personally take the time to study each card, practice with the deck. It could take maybe up to several months, but after that I have a really deep understanding where I'm not having to go back and refer to my notes, because it's a part of me now. It's no longer something that's just knowledge where I reference notes. It's a type of wisdom that's just in me now, and I'm able to grasp it and it just comes spilling through. So in terms of choosing your deck, I would recommend that if the traditional kind of tarot vibe is seeming overwhelming, I will cover this, so we will go into the details of it. If it's feeling overwhelming, I would suggest, again, starting with some kind of angel deck, Oracle deck, whichever one's going to vibe with you, because a lot of times they will have like a certain description there with the imagery there in a way that even oddly enough relates to your life as you're learning each card. It's a funny way, but you'll see how those things work. And simply, again, by using and practicing understanding each card, you're going to be raising your own intuition as well too. So with that, you're really going to be able to test when something is working and when something is not working. Again, being able to find your own niche is going to be key here, not comparing yourself to others or doing as others are doing, but these are going to be some helpful tips that again are going to be accessible to anyone and everyone who's really wanting to learn this.